of unjust, you can say unjust activities in general. Unjust activities include the prohibition of riba, but not limited to the prohibition of riba. When we come to the, we mentioned the nature of the Islamic system. When we come to the right framework, what do we mean by the right framework? The right framework means the grounds on which the Islamic finance can function. Yeah? The background on which, or the ground on which Islamic finance can function. Without the belief in the hereafter, Islamic finance will not function properly at all. Now, some people, when we talk about this, they say that the non-Muslims also believe, the non-Muslims also give charities. Yeah? Also give charities. Which is true. What's his name? Bill Gates donated the biggest donation, £5 billion for vaccine. Okay? And previously in 1999, he donated £1 billion, just donation. Okay? And they said that this is the biggest donation in history. Whatever the case may be. We are not talking about, this is another problem. We are not talking about donation. Proactive measures are not limited to donations. Someone might say, what are you talking about? In Islamic finance, there is something called tawakkul. Now, many people say tawakkul is part of Islamic finance. Yes, it is part of Islamic finance. Now, in any discussion related to the Islamic finance, you will not hear people talking about tawakkul when we talk about Islamic finance. And when we want to explain this, you know that there is one of the biggest problems in in finance is what? The problem of insurance. And when we say to people that insurance is haram, and it weakens your tawakkul ala Allah Jalla wa ala, those who do not believe in Allah and in the hereafter cannot comprehend on this. Those who have weak iman, they will say, but in reality Allah is there. Okay? In reality, in business, you cannot rely on this. Subhanallah, you cannot rely on Allah. This is tawakkul, is part of it. طيب. In Islamic finance, we have the element of barakah. Barakah, yes? Now, in business, we don't have the concept of barakah. Do we have it? Recently, in one of the course, in the weekend, we were talking about, we had a session with sisters. And one of the sisters asked a very genuine question. She said that she wants to work in a mixed environment in London. Is it halal or haram if it is controlled environment, etc.? I said, generally speaking, it is haram to work, especially for sisters to work in a mixed environment. And then she said, but in reality here in London, you cannot survive properly without what? Without the husband and wife, both of them working in order to provide for themselves, to maintain a reasonable lifestyle. Then I gave her the answer. Jazakallah khair, one of the sisters later on, it was the time for salah, so I could not continue. One of the sisters later on, she said to me, during the break, we discussed the principle of barakah. And I told the sisters that in many cases, we don't rely on Allah Jalla wa ala, we don't have tawakkul, we don't have the principle of barakah in our rizq, in our provision. And Allah Jalla wa ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. This principle is not there. Have you ever heard those who are talking about Islamic finance, they are talking about tawakkul and that Allah Jalla wa ala will provide them, or Allah Jalla wa ala will expand their rizq, although by calculation and by mathematics it is just £1,000? They don't speak about this. Is that true or not? So when we eliminate those principles from Islamic finance, we are providing what? A distorted picture of Islamic finance to people. And in many cases, people won't understand what we are talking about. Okay? Is that clear or not? And that is very visible when we talk about, in particular, insurance. When we talk about insurance, that is very visible. I remember, just off the topic, I remember in one of the, I was working for a company in Saudi Arabia, and the company provided us with cars. And they had a system where we will own the cars, or the cars are ours. And we bought almost 12 cars, brand new cars. And for us newly graduated people, that is really something very luxury. So the colleagues, all of them, they said we would like to have insurance because new cars, and they will get stolen, or they will have be involved in accidents, etc. Well, I told them, Wallahi, it is haram, so I will not be involved in this. Wallahi, ya brothers, we had, I remember, 11 cars, or 12 cars, sorry. All of them got stolen, okay, were broken, vandalized, okay, and got, crashed were involved in some severe accidents, except 2 cars. One of them is my car. طبعا I'm not mentioning this just a matter of praising that I had tawakkul ala Allah, but I'm saying that it is real. It is real. It is not something imaginary. When you put your trust in Allah Jalla wa Ala and have the principle of tawakkul, Allah Jalla wa Ala will provide you. Allah Jalla wa Ala will make things easy for you, and that have to be there. So this is again part of the framework that once it is absent, then Islamic finance as a whole will not function. We will come to the issue of one of the biggest problems in finance. When an institute finance a product for people, the biggest problem, of course, they finance them on an installment basis. One of the biggest problem is what? Deferred payments. صح? People don't pay on time, and sometimes people don't pay at all. What is the solution for this? Even those rich people and Muslims and so-called Islamic banks now, they don't have an element within their framework called sadaqah. Sadaqah is not limited that you give people a charity, but when you face a person with deferred payment for a genuine reason, Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, what? وَإِن كَانَ ذُو عُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ وَأَن تَصَدَّقُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If he is facing any hardship, then فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ means don't push him to pay on time, give him a leeway. That is what? That is also something better. Even if you go to the level that you just wipe it out and you say you are forgiven and I don't want my debt from you, Allah Jalla wa Ala called this what? As sadaqah. Now banks, including Islamic banks, they don't have this element at all for deferred payments. And they say if we do this, what will happen? What will happen? People will what? Take advantage or make advantage of that. Is that true or not? We say, and that's why we are talking about the spiritual, framework. Because if you are dealing with people who have no iman, they will try to cheat you as much as they can. They will try to fool the system. So it won't work. And you will what? We will see with the system something which is very, very important, that Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned it even when he mentioned the ayat of what? Al-riba. Which means Allah is telling us that this is a solution. Yeah? This is a solution for some of those problems that you are going to face. Yet that is missing from the system. So you don't expect to have a system that is functioning properly. Is this point clear? Was it clear? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, when we want to talk about the spiritual dimension or the framework, the